Okay. Guess I don't need that anymore. So let's see, what do you got? There you are. How's the delay? How does it look so far? Completing the square. Okay. Now, what questions do you want to go through? Just kind of like the subject in general? Practice problem with fraction. Okay. Give me a second. I might as well go through quite a bit. Okay. I'm gonna stand here so I don't have to worry about it. Something with fractions. What about x squared plus 9x? What number do we need to add and subtract to complete this square? Well, remember what we do is if we have this x squared plus bx plus c, you take half of b and square it. Well, what's half of 9? Half of 9 isn't a regular number, right? It's not a whole number. You were thinking square root or something. It's fine. It's fine. Just relax. You'll get it. You'll get it. Okay. So if we have 9 over 2 squared, we're going to add and subtract that number. Now, the only thing is for you, you were having an equal sign. It doesn't matter. You don't need to have an equal sign. You still have to just add and subtract. So the only difference is if you don't have an equal sign. Because you can complete the square without an equal sign. So you kind of need to know how to do it. If I set it equal to 0, it doesn't change anything. It just means that you're going to have to add it to both sides. So then, what does this turn into now? Yeah, that's what it turns into. But what is this? We're going to complete the square. So what is this? This is going to be x plus what? What goes inside here? Yeah. And then on the other side, like you said, you got 81 over 4. That's really all it is. So you just take half the number and square it. So like your example with the 7, x squared plus 7x So the funny thing is when you square something out, remember that if you have like x plus b squared, remember that's just like x squared plus 2bx plus b squared. So we found what b is. So that's why you wrote it in here. Yeah, so this one will be 7 over 2, right? So then when you complete the square, it's x plus 7 over 2 squared. And then on the outside, you've got the 7 over 2 squared. Yeah, exactly. Like you're doing fine. Yep. So if you had an equation that it actually was, so let's say that this was our equation, x plus 7 over 2 equals 7 over 2, you square root both sides, yeah. So the only difference is whatever your question was. What was your question? Because it had a number in it. It was like plus 15 there. Yeah, write it in there. Yeah, so your question, x squared minus 7x plus 15 equals 0. That's the question. So, you want to move the 15 to the other side. I think that's what you want to do, right? You don't have to do that first. You could actually just complete the square first if you want, and then go over and solve it. It's just the response. Like, the messages get to me right away, but then when I respond, it takes a while for it to reach back to you. That's why the Discord calls work really well, because then there's no delay between me responding. Yeah, you can. You don't need to, but we can. So x squared minus 7x equals minus 15. So technically the stream is delayed by, I don't know, 15 seconds or so. And I've tried reducing it as much as I can, and I don't know what else I can do. So, yeah, 7 over 2 squared, plus on both sides. So, x squared, I'll write it over here, plus 7 over 2 squared, plus 7 over 2 squared. No, it's just mine. The concept of streaming, there's always a delay. Okay, so what do we write next? Why? That doesn't change anything. You're completing the square, remember? So like this is a square now. You can write it as a square. So what is the square? I'll write the 49 minus 15 plus 49 over 4. Yeah, on the left it's just x minus 7 over 2 squared. Okay, now add those two together. So remember, this is just adding fractions, right? 15 is the same as 15 over 1, right? Plus 49 over 4. You gotta have a... Yeah, you gotta find a common denominator. So if you multiply by 4 over 4, then you'll have your common denominator. 15 times 4 is not 16, but 60 over 4. And then you still have the 49. So what's minus 60 plus 49? Wouldn't be 10. 60 and 49, that would be 11, right? Negative 11 over 4. Yeah, it happens. So the only question I have for you is, do you allow for complex numbers or do you not allow for complex numbers? Yeah, we can do it. The I is a complex number. Most of the time you'll refer to it as an imaginary number, but complex is what it's referred to. Okay, so then what does this turn into? It's two different terms that pretty much mean the same thing for lower levels. Yep, so we square root both sides. So we would have just, yeah. So x minus 7 over 2 equals, well, what's the square root of 4? 2, right? So I'm going to just write it over 2, and then we have the square root of negative 11. So what does that become? And this is plus or minus. Good, plus or minus I root 11 over 2. Yeah, so x equals 7 over 2 plus minus I root 11 over 2. Okay. What's next? Go ahead. There, like, if you divide out, then you're still doing the same thing. So, like, let's see. Do I have one? How about 2x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals 0. So if you're going to divide by 2 to begin with, that's fine. You divide by 2, divide everything by 2. The x squared is now, the 2x squared is just x squared. You're just dividing the first term out to make it clear. So what if it's 2, then divide by 2. If it's 3, divide by 3. If it's 7 over 2, multiply by 2 over 7, you know? You want to move 7 first. Okay. 4x equals 7. Yep, finisher. Well, you want to, so here's the thing. Why don't you divide by 2? Right? If you divide everything by 2, this just simplifies it, right? Okay, so now solve it. Yep. So you like to add 1 to both sides. Yep, 1 squared is just 1. So keep going. Yeah, so what's 7 over 2 plus 1 as an improper fraction? Yeah, x plus 1 squared. 7 over 2 plus 1 as a fraction is what? That. So don't write it that way. What is it? Just like number over number. 2 over 2 plus 7 over 2, 9 over 2. Okay. So now solve it. Yeah, so x plus 1. Yep, so square root of 9 is 3, so I'm just going to write 3 over root 2. Plus or minus. X equals minus 1. So remember, you don't want to leave a root as well on the bottom, so you still need to rationalize this. Plus or minus 3 over root 2. So minus 1 plus or minus. What's the rationalized? Yeah. 3 square root 2 over 2. So that one wasn't too bad. Do you want another one like that? I don't know how hard they could be. Let's take a look. Well, there's not much else you can really do with those. It's like the whole thing of completing the square. Okay, so here's another one that's gonna be a little bit different. 1/2 x squared minus 6x plus 2. No equal sign. No 0, no equal sign. You have to just complete the square and write it out. There's no solving. Just complete the square. So remember, this is where it's going to come in a key factor. There is no equal sign. There is no equal to 0. You're not going to divide by a half. You're going to just factor out a half. So you would still have the 1/2, but you're going to write the rest of it on the inside. So you'd have x squared. What's the rest on the inside? Good. Well, 2 doesn't become 8. It would just become 4. Right? Because when you multiply the 1/2 back in, you need to get back to the -6 and the +2. So you would do that. That makes sense. Yeah. You're okay. So now you're going to still complete the square. So you're only going to deal with what's on the inside. So what you're going to deal with is that -12, right? So you're not going to worry about the -4. You're just going to move it to the side and not worry about it. So this is where I was talking about the adding and subtracting. So I'm just going to move this 4 over to the other side. Or just kind of like out of the way. Now we need a number to add and subtract so that we would be able to complete the square. Yeah, good. So I'm going to 6 squared and then -6 squared, right? Because you have to add and subtract. So the only difference here, so earlier when you have it so that you had it on the equals sign, you would add it to both sides, right? That's the same thing as if you moved it over, adding and subtracting on one side. Does that make sense? You do it all the time. You're with the equal sign, you're just adding to both sides. All you're doing is completing the square. There's nothing extra to solve, so you still need to complete the square. This is now a square. So the 1/2 stays the same. What's left on the inside? We're just going through the process, not extra. So remember before, right here, this part became x plus 1 squared? We're doing the same thing. We're only working with these 3 terms. Don't worry about the rest on the right. This doesn't matter yet. Leave that out for now. Okay? Only focus on these 3 for now. What does those turn into? Yeah, good. Well, the minus. X minus 6 squared. Okay, good. Now we can worry about these 2 terms. We have a minus 6 squared. So 6 squared was 36, right? And then we still have that plus 4. Now you can add these 2 terms together. Yeah, good. Minus 32. Okay. Now, we don't need this in this big brackets anymore. We can distribute the 1/2. So if we multiply the 1/2 onto the first term, we just get 1/2 times x minus 6 squared. And then 1/2 times minus 32. So what's minus 32 over 6? Or not 6, my bad. Over 2. The 1/2 x minus 6 squared. Yeah, minus 16. And this is done. This is all you needed to do. That's the whole process of completing the square. Now, the reason why I did it where there's no equal to 0 is because literally the next unit, it would be like y equals to something. Are you pretty tired? Well, what, you're 2 hours ahead of me, so. Yeah. You probably had a long day. Well, see which ones would be complex. Well, let's see. Complex ones would be... How about x squared plus 6x plus 17, I think would be a good one. Equals to 0. Solve by completing the square. Okay. Okay. X plus 3 squared equals minus 8. Okay, so then you square root it, so x plus 3 equals plus or minus the I 2 root 2. So x equals minus 3 plus or minus 2I root 2. Easy. Do you need another one? Because you did that pretty quick. Quadratic formula. Well, you could do the same question with the quadratic formula. X squared plus 6x plus 17. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2 and a. So what are you going to do? Yeah, x equals negative 6 plus or minus Square root of 36 minus 4 times 17. Yep, 68. All over 2. So x equals okay. Negative 32. What else? Yep. And don't forget the I. So I'll leave this 6 plus or minus all over 2. Minus 6 plus or minus 4i root 2 all over 2. So you don't forget to divide by 2. So 6 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2. Yeah. So negative 3 plus or minus 2i root 2. Same as what we had before. See? Okay. You do all the homework problems then. Not a problem. Not a problem. Okay. Let me know. It's a good thing for an hour. All the emotes. Hopefully, I can get this to grow a little bit better, a little bit bigger, more students, more stuff to do. But till then, I think that should be good for tonight. So, bye-bye.